evening. Our top story this week. In Alberta, Canada, the child protective industry gets their hands caught in the cookie jar after it comes to light that 145 kids have died in the provincial foster care system since 1999, with 89 of them being swept under the rug and only 56 cases ever being reported to the public, with a third of those kids being little babies. On top of that, a Southern Alberta First Nations leader is complaining about the child protective industry taking too many Aboriginal kids who are dying, and their kids are dying too. Nobody can name the kids because Alberta's child protective industry likes to hide behind their confidentiality laws and publication bans, and even though all of the secrecy is half the problem, a Canadian foster father who's trying to take the heat off of himself is calling for the stories to be told but not the names of people involved, as it could risk discouraging people from wanting to be foster parents. This sudden unreported child death revelation is not only pissing everybody off, but it's providing an opportunity for the opposing parties of government to agree on something and making it look like they can actually work together, such as agreeing to create a roundtable debate to examine why this particular mess came to be so they can prevent it from ever happening again, which one mother is calling a roundtable ploy because they're hoping that by the time it actually happens, all of the hysteria from the sudden dose of reality will have died down. In Arizona, after failing to respond like good little baby stealers to more than 6,000 child abuse complaints, everybody wants to blame Governor Jan Brewer for picking an idiot to run the state's child protective industry, while a group of system-suck protesters who don't have a clue as to what they're asking for are calling for the heads of the child protective industry leaders. Then a former Arizona CPS agent verifies that which we already know, which is that the entire system is broken. The Arizona State Police decide to stick their nose into it to see why CPS just can't seem to handle the job. Then, as if things weren't bad enough, some guy finds a whole box of CPS records containing case files of abused children. And the funny thing about it is that Arizona is not alone, because the child protective agencies all across the country are overwhelmed and underperforming. In California, the state extends the time for the promised Citizen Child Welfare Oversight Commission, which was supposed to recommend reforms to the state's child protective industry, which has been failing children and families. In Massachusetts, the judge who threw out a lawsuit aimed at the state's foster care system claims that the reason he did so was because the problem was more budgetary shortfalls than management myopia. In Connecticut, the audit finds the background checks used to approve foster parents is inadequate. And in North Carolina, a child welfare advocate threatens to expose problems with the Department of Social Services in light of the system's innovative new handcuff and dead chicken discipline program. In New Zealand, an agency wants the social development minister to apologize for misleading the public as to the true nature of child abuse and neglect in the country. The New Zealand child protective industry forces foster kids out onto the streets as soon as they turn 17. In Australia, a man is facing charges that he sexually assaulted his 10-year-old foster daughter. A British mother who fled to Scotland to avoid having her kids stolen by social workers avoids a jail term for doing so after social workers caught them thanks to a picture that was posted on Facebook. And in England, an Italian mother who had a mental breakdown was sedated and forcefully given a cesarean so that British social workers could snatch her baby and put him up for adoption. In entertainment news this week, Charlie Sheen's drug-abusing ex, Brooke Mueller, calls police on Denise Richards, claiming that Denise abused her sons and is still abusing her two daughters. In Connecticut, a misdiagnosed child is being held captive by a hospital and CPS agents for not responding positively to the wrong treatment. In Maine, a foster kid runs away from her therapeutic group home, but she's recaptured shortly after the news story broke. And in Michigan, a judge is refusing to throw out a lawsuit against a lower court judge who temporarily removed a kid from his parents after the kid mistakenly drank a Mike's Hard Lemonade at a Detroit Tigers game. In Ohio, after a 9-year-old kid is given up by his adoptive parents, everybody's worried that adoptive parents don't realize that it's supposed to be a lifelong commitment. In Oklahoma, the Cherokee Nation files its response to the lawsuit for attorney's fees against them and the real father of a little girl who was forced to go live with adoptive parents, telling them that they are not responsible. In Missouri, police are on the hunt for a real mom who disappeared from a visit with her two kids. And finally tonight, in California, a Sacramento County CPS agent named Christina Jerez says that you have to like what you're doing if you're going to be a child-snatching CPS agent. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.